Namaste and welcome to Inspiring Women, produced by Today's Youth Asia. Inspiring Women television show is an attempt to bring successful women and inspiring stories on women leadership from around the world. My name is Deepika, and in today's episode we have with us two inspiring women leaders from American Council of Young Political Leaders delegate team who had come to Nepal for a cultural exchange program. Elizabeth is presently working as both the assistant to the president and political director for the Philadelphia Council, AFL-CIO. She is responsible for the oversight of joint political, legislative, and affiliate mobilization activities for more than 100 local unions in the Philadelphia area. She received her bachelor's degree in history from Providence College and her Juris Doctorate from American University. Unions were made for the benefiting of employees in an organization so that they would not be hammered, misused, or harassed. So in Nepal, there are a lot of cases where the employees shut down the company because of their demands were not met. And do you think it's really a good cause or the thing that the employees would be doing if their rights are not given to them, or they are misusing their rights that the organization have given them?
I think every country and every union movement is different, but I think there's a couple basics that are true. I think when workers, whether they're in unions or not, quite frankly, feel like they're not being respected or that they're not being heard by their employer, then tensions can rise. I think that it's really important for employers. In the United States, we have collective bargaining, where employers and employees come together and negotiate a contract and the terms and conditions of how they're going to work, how long the workday is going to be, and all those sorts of things. So when that happens, sometimes it can be a really good environment. We have a lot of big companies that have unions, and they work really well together. When it comes to the fact of shutting something down, I don't want to speak on exactly what's happening here in Nepal because I'm not enough familiar with it, but I think that, again, I think there's extremes in anything, and when workers feel that frustrated that they have to shut down, that their demands aren't being met, that there's a problem, and I think that things need to be looked at.
You are in charge of the overall site of joint political, legislative, and affiliate mobilization activities in more than 100 local unions in the Philadelphia area. So how are you able to do so much of work so effectively?
Well, I don't do it all alone. If I could say, in the United States, I work in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I work for the AFL-CIO, which is our umbrella organization of trade unions. Trade unions in America are a little different, I think, than from what I've learned about trade unions in Nepal. We're not affiliated with a political party. We're independent unions, and they're unions in the workplace where workers get together and decide to form it. So when they all come together, like in Philadelphia, there's 102, I think, that we represent, with about 200,000 members. So what we do is we do work on politics. We help get candidates elected who we think are going to be good for worker rights and economic justice, things that we work on, social issues. And we also work on policy. We work on legislative issues that we think are going to strengthen worker rights. So to answer your question, I don't do it all alone. We have a great volunteer base. We have a lot of union members who are active in their unions and come out and help either knock on doors to get candidates elected or go talk to the legislators when something important is coming up. So we do it together.
You have come to Nepal for a cultural exchange program. What do you think Nepal can improve in the field of union that are working for the better future?
Again, I think unions are different here, and they're different in every country, but I think that in terms of basic worker rights, I think that workers need to feel on the job like that they're respected, appreciated, that they have a wage that they can take home that can make them help them provide for their family. And so I think that any steps in those directions to make sure that all workers, whatever they do, whether it's the person running this hotel or the person cleaning this hotel, that they feel respected and useful on the job, I think is important. Any steps that can be taken in any way to do that is good.
In many rural parts of Nepal, people they still don't know about unions and employee rights, and they are getting suppressed and dominated. So how can these people be brought up?
That's a really tough question. I think that you know, in the United States, in a lot of ways, we're spoiled because we have a lot of access. Even in some of our rural areas, we have access to information and things like that. I think I haven't had a chance to visit many of the rural areas in Nepal, so I couldn't speak directly about them. But I think that from what I've seen here in Kathmandu and what you guys are doing with Today's Youth Asia, you're really trying to help communicate to people all across the country about different things. And I think that in small rural towns, sometimes, you know, employers are small, and so workers might not need a union on the job, but they just, again, what it goes back to, they need to feel respected. In terms of spreading information, I think that, you know, I think what I've learned in doing my job is that anywhere across this world that workers have come together, you know, in different ways at different times, right? And the big push for unions in the United States, I would say that the high mark of unionism in the United States was in the 30s and 40s, right? When they really came together and fought for 8-hour workday and fought to end child labor and things like that. And I think, you know, around the globe it happens in different stages and at different places. So it's just because it's happening in one place at one time doesn't mean it won't happen someplace else at another time. So I just think over time, if people feel like they need it, they'll do it, whether it's through a union or just through a formal union or just through getting together with their neighbors and saying, we really want to go get something done.
What are your thoughts on women empowerment in the 21st century?
Women's empowerment? It's a good thing. I mean, I work for, you know, in the labor movement in the United States for a long time, it was traditionally male men, you know, because they were the ones who were leaders, you know, in the 30s and 40s. There are a lot of great, powerful women labor leaders in the United States now who have really taken, you know, the top ranks. I'm not one of them, but what I do is, you know, traditionally male. There's not a lot of women who do the political portion of what I do. I think it's important for all people, women, men, to feel empowered about their lives, right? To feel that they have an opportunity to do something that they want to do. And to feel like nobody's going to stand in their way simply because of their gender or because, for any reason, their race, their gender, their ethnicity, their, you know, status in some way. And I think that's a really important thing. I think we've come a long way in the United States, certainly in terms of women in power positions. And you know, we have a woman Secretary of State. You know, we've had several women Secretaries of State, Condoleezza Rice and Hillary Clinton, and you know, we have a woman who almost became Vice President, you know, 4 years ago, and Sarah Palin. There's a lot of different avenues. So I think it's important, but I think in the United States, certainly, it's come a long way from my grandmother's generation.
Who is your most inspirational woman figure in your life?
In my life? That's got to be my mom, right? And I actually don't say that lightly. My mom, there's 3 daughters. I have a brother and 2 sisters, and my mom was, you know, raised by a woman who only, you know, went to elementary school, never got a chance to go to high school. And my mom herself got married very young and had kids very young, and then she went back to college, when I was little, and became a teacher and did a lot of great things. And she's a really smart woman. But somebody from her generation who got married right out of high school to raise 3 really smart, independent women daughters, I think is a testament to her. So I think she's fantastic. Sometimes she's, you know, wishes we weren't so independent, but she likes us.
In Nepal and in many underdeveloped countries, the women are still dominated and socially excluded. So what word of advice would you like to give to them?
That's really tough because I don't have that experience, right? And so it's really hard for me to speak to somebody else's experience. I guess what I would say is that that change is always possible, and if women in Nepal, you know, are thinking that they want to have more freedoms and be more independent, or women in any country, I think that, you know, it's really hard where they can't come together and meet freely or talk freely to one another. But I look at the young women I've met this week through Today's Youth Asia, and I think that there's a lot of hope for Nepal, because I've met some, including on this panel, some strong, independent, smart women who are really trying to take strides and make steps and in hopes for a better future for everybody. But I do think that, you know, strong women is important to every country. I think in you know, society just in general, if women are free and are educated and are literate, then children do better ordinarily. You know, in the United States, we know that the #1 indicator of success in school for children is the education level of their mom. And so I think that's a really important thing. So if their mother, you know, has had opportunities, then children will often have opportunities, and that creates generations. So I think it's important. But I think that I've met enough women here that I think it'll come from within.
How are unions like in the US, and what can we do in Nepal to improve ourselves?
Unions in the United States, like I said a little bit, are independent and free, and they're organized usually by job structures. So we have I come out of the American Federation of Teachers, which is a teachers union, and it's mostly you know, elementary, higher ed, and teachers. There's nurses unions, there's oil workers and steel workers unions, and so they're usually organized by trade. The unions themselves are created by the workers, right? And so if workers get together and decide that they want a union, they go and form one. Then they, you know, there's about 60 national unions that they could affiliate with if they want to, and that just creates more power and strength, right? And the organization that I work for is the umbrella organization for all those 60 unions, or I think it's 57 actually, unions, and so there's more power. There's about 13 million, I think, union members under the umbrella of the AFL-CIO in the United States, and there's several unions that are outside of the AFL-CIO that we work in conjunction with. You know, so I think that it's an important structure. We used to have a lot more people who were part of unions for a variety of reasons. We've lost some of that. A lot of our manufacturing jobs where people were in a union went to other places, and so those people are doing other jobs that might not be union jobs. But at any rate, I think we've come a long way in 50 years or 60 years in the United States in terms of worker rights, whether in a union or not. People who feel respected on the job. We have a long way to go still. In Nepal, I mean, I've been here for only 5 days, so I haven't learned everything about your country. But, you know, I think that if from what I understand, you know, people, you know, are starting to come together and talk about different things, and, you know, like we just talked about, women coming together and more education. And I think that any country that's in a situation where you're coming out, you know, you're forming a constitution and you're coming out of some civil strife, it's going to take time to rebuild in any way. So I think that, you know, it seems like you guys are on a path to different things, and it really matters what you want to do. You guys are the future of Nepal, and so you're going to be, in 10 years from now, I'm going to be reading your names in the paper and hearing about what you want to do, to take the direction you want to take the country.
You face a lot of challenges in your work, dealing with different people with different needs. How are you able to overcome with them?
Oh, well, I think that the first thing to do is respect all people and their opinions. The trip that we're on here today, you know, we're coming from the American Council of Young Political Leaders, and there's 7 of us who've been traveling together for 2 weeks, and we come from different backgrounds, different jobs, different political points of view. But we've been able to talk about a lot of tough issues because we respect each other's position and voice. And so I think that's the first thing. If I go in to any meeting or dealing with any person and just figure that I'm going to learn something from that person, maybe they'll learn something from me, sometimes yes, sometimes no, and that we're just going to have a respectful conversation, then it's easy to get along with all types of people. I mean, there's challenges in any job, but for the most part, I really love what I do, and I really like the people that I encounter, so it's easy.
What has been your best part of staying in Nepal?
Well, it's been great. We haven't the best part. That's always a challenging question. So we've had great hosts. Today's Youth Asia have been our hosts, and they've really showed us a bunch of different things. We were able to see your stadium right downtown, which I thought was really kind of cool, because to have a big stadium like that right in the middle of a city. In the United States, we tend to put them out in the outskirts, so it's hard to get to. So I think that's a great thing. I really enjoyed our trip to the border. We went to Sirganj and saw the India border, and it was different. It was interesting because it was a lot of people down there who have a lot of challenges, but meeting with them and seeing that there's youth groups down there that are doing some great work was fun. And then today I got to fly by Mount Everest, so that was pretty cool. Not myself, there was a plane.
What would you like to say to the youth who want to become like you?
You know, I think I've been very lucky. I had parents who really said, go do whatever you want to do. And I've been really lucky in that I've been able to find a job working with the unions and doing political work that really suits my personality, and it suits the passion that I have. So I would say if you can find something that you're passionate about and stick to it and do it. If you get paid for it and can you do it as a job, even better. But if you have to just find your passion and do it volunteer or part-time or something like that, you know, you should do it. I think all the youth that I've met here in Nepal have been, I obviously haven't met everybody, but I've met a lot of people, and they've been wonderful and engaging and really passionate about the future of Nepal and hopeful about it. And I encourage that to continue, because I think you know, it's important for people to have hope that the next generation might be able to do something better or different in any country.
Thank you for being with us today. We look forward to your feedback. Our email address is youthTYA@gmail.com. Our mailing address is Inspiring Women, GPO 8975, EPC 5478, Kathmandu. Thank you for watching us. We hope to see you next week at the same time. Have a nice week. Namaste.